Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my September reading wrap-up. I actually had a really good reading month in September. I read a total of 10 books, which I'm pretty happy with. It's definitely more than I've been reading in the last few months anyway. Of those 10 books, 5 of them were fantasy, 4 of them were romance, and 1 of them was a thriller. Okay, so the first 2 books I'm going to talk about are Spark of the Everflame and Glow of the Everflame. These are the first 2 books in the Kindred's Curse saga. There are currently 3 books out, so I've read the first 2. These are available on Kindle Unlimited, that's where I have read them, and these are romantasy books. The series is not yet finished. There is a 4th book coming out next year or maybe even the year after, but in this world we have mortals and we have the descended. The descended are descended from gods, therefore they have magical powers. They are bigger, stronger, better looking, they live for longer, and they rule each of the realms in this world. The mortals are seen as the lesser citizens and they keep themselves very separate. Our female main character, DM, she is a mortal and she is a healer. She works with her mother. Her mother actually does some work at the palace on the descended, and one day DM sees her arguing with a descended man, and it seems that they know each other quite well. And that night her mum never comes home, and so DM wants to find out what's happened to her mum, what were her and this descended man arguing about. That's the starting point of this series. We have a very slow burn romance, which I really enjoy. I actually ended up giving both of these books 4.5 stars. The first book, I absolutely loved all of it. It was so good. The second book, I will say the first half was quite slow and I wasn't really enjoying it, but then the second half of the book made up for that. It was amazing, really good. So yeah, I gave both of these books 4.5 stars. I don't think I said, but this series is by Pencole, and as I did say, it is available on Kindle Unlimited. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about is Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. So in this we are following Ali. She is a single mum going through a fairly recent divorce, and her life is a bit of a mess, even though her job is a professional organiser, so her job is literally to organise other people's lives. However, her life is a bit of a mess and she's not proud of it. But one day at the dog park, she meets a man and they hit it off. But for various different reasons, it's not going to be a long-term thing, mainly because he does not live in this place. He lives somewhere else, I can't remember where. And so she kind of toys with the idea of, does she just want to have a summer fling, and risk getting her heart broken, or should she just leave it and not explore that relationship? I loved this book. It is my first Annabelle Monaghan book and I had heard amazing things about her books. I'm so happy that I managed to get one in before summer ended, and yeah, it didn't disappoint. I really liked it. I liked that this felt like a more mature romance. Like the characters that we were following felt like adults, like they felt mature, even though they didn't necessarily have their lives fully sorted out. They felt like full-on adults, and I really liked that. I also liked the exploration of her relationship with her kids and the issues in those relationships, and exploring a little bit of what it means to be a mum. I really enjoyed that side of it. I also liked the romance. There is no spice in this one, by the way, if you were wondering. I gave this one 4 stars overall. Definitely didn't give me the 5-star feeling, but I really enjoyed it and would definitely recommend. Okay, the next 2 books are the 3rd and 4th book in the Kingdom of Lies series by Stasia Stark. So we have A Crown This Cold and Heavy and A Queen This Fierce and Deadly. Now I have spoke about this series so much on my channel in the last month, so I am really not going to go into much detail here. This is a romantasy series. We have fae, we have humans, we have a really good romance, we have found family, we have side romances that are really good. I've said before, this series kind of gives me Throne of Glass vibes. I think reading these last 2 books really settled that in my mind. To me, this kind of filled a little bit of a hole that Throne of Glass has left in me. The series is a 5-star series for me. I just find it so fun and easy to read, and I'm so attached to the characters and the romances. I loved it. If I'm going to go into individual ratings, I'm going to say that book 3, I'm going to give 5 stars. I absolutely loved this, especially the focus that we started to have on a particular side character and romance. I just ate that up. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, this one was 5 stars. And book 4 I'd probably give 4 or 4.5 stars probably. I did really enjoy it, and overall I thought it was a good last book. There were just a few issues that I had with it. So firstly, this is kind of a war book. However, the actual war bit happens very quickly and doesn't take up that much of the book, and I wish that it had been spread out for a bit longer to really keep you on your seat a bit more. Yeah, I don't know, I just think the war wrapped up a little bit too quickly. And then the other thing is the questions that I have at the end of this book, and not being able to see if those questions are going to be answered. Interesting decision to do that in the last book in a series, but yeah, anyway, as I said, overall this series is 5 stars. I absolutely love it. I recommend to give it a go if you haven't already and you like romantasy book series. Yeah, really good. Okay, the next book is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I know that loads of people love this book and it's like a 5-star read for them, but for some reason I was not going to read it. I was just going to go straight from Part of Your World to Just for the Summer. I do not know why. I literally have no explanation. I just wasn't going to read it. But I did come to my senses and decide, no, Maisie, you really should read it. So I did. I read it on my Kindle, and I am glad that I did. This is a fake dating and also I would say probably like friends to lovers kind of romance. It actually takes place at a hospital, and right from the off, the hospital vibes I was absolutely loving. So I love the setting of this book. It's been a while since I've read a fake dating book, and I did enjoy the fake dating. In general, I just really enjoyed this book. I liked our characters, I liked the romance between our characters. I found the way that it was written and the dialogue and the interactions really believable, and I really enjoyed that. It also has really good anxiety representation from our male main character, which was really good to see. So I was reading this book thinking this is a 5-star book, and then the last 10% of the book happened, and I've never been more mad and disappointed in a way that a story has gone in my life. That's probably an exaggeration, but I was not happy with the way that this book went. And because of that, it wasn't a 5-star. In fact, let me have a look to see what I actually rate it as at the end. I assume it's either 4 or 4.5 stars, which I think 4.5 stars sounds right to me. Yeah, 4.5 stars is what I gave it, and that is what I would stick by. Pretty much the first 90% of the book was 5 stars, and then it was just that last 10% that I just didn't like. I can't really say anything because I don't want to give any spoilers, but the way that one of our characters acted, I really just didn't like, and it also didn't make sense from a story point of view in terms of everything that we had gone through. It just didn't make sense for me. I didn't like it. Yeah. Okay, the next book that I read was The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This is a thriller, and I read this in my 24-hour readathon. Now, I was looking forward to reading this because the people that I have seen read it have loved it. I think most of them have given it like 5 stars, maybe 4 stars. It's been a very highly rated book, so I was excited to read it. I'm not somebody who reads lots of thrillers, but in that sense, I'm quite easy to please when it comes to a thriller because I just don't often reach for them, but when I do, I really enjoy them. I really enjoy that change of pace between like a romance and a fantasy book compared to a thriller. But I just really did not like this book. So in this book, we have our female main character, and she basically leaves a bad review on a book, and the author replies to her review and basically asks her to remove it, and she refuses and leaves it up there. While this is going on, she is actually house sitting at a remote house on the beach, and she starts to get the feeling that somebody is like in the house watching her. And I'm sure you can see where it's going from here, but I'm going to stop explaining the book now. Yeah, I don't know, I just found it really underwhelming. Like the twists just weren't twisting for me. I don't know, it just was not the book for me. I have read No Exit by Taylor Adams, and I did enjoy that one. But yeah, this book just was not for me, and that's fine. I rated it 2 stars. Okay, the next book that I read is When the Moon Hatched. I was very excited to read this book. Unfortunately, it just wasn't for me. I've heard really good things about it, and I know lots of people really enjoy it, but I've also seen other people who have felt the same way about this as me. So I feel like it's a bit of a Marmite one, like you either love it and you really get it or you don't. I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars. I'm not gonna lie, it was a struggle to finish it. I'm actually just gonna read out my Goodreads review. 2.5 stars. I'm so confused. This book wasn't bad, but so much effort was put into this unique and fairly complex world in the first 200 pages, and I was living in that glossary. But then it just kind of turned into pure romance, and the plot was lost, and ultimately it just got a bit boring. That's what I said on Goodreads, and I feel like that summarises my feelings. As I mentioned there is a massive glossary in this book. It basically seemed like the author had taken a decision to just have a massive glossary that you can refer to, and that means that when she is talking about things in the book, she's not describing them to you. So there's not really any world building because you're kind of just thrown straight into the book, into the story, and it's on you to go and have a look in the glossary to see what things mean. Did I find it a little bit annoying having to constantly go back to the glossary? Yes. Did I feel just a bit stupid overall? Yes. She felt like I was learning a new language, like it felt so complex. And I think that maybe it's not that complex, but it's just the fact of having to go to the glossary, it just makes it seem more complex. It's like reading a book and having to constantly refer to the dictionary because you don't know what any words mean. That's how it felt, and I didn't really enjoy that feeling. But then, as I said, like all of that stuff didn't really even matter in the end because we just started focusing on this romance, which I think was a good overall idea for a romance, but I think that it could have been dragged out a bit more. The way that it was executed was a bit rushed, and I think that's because the book just started to focus solely on that romance. I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I probably won't be continuing on with this series. If you've read it, I would love to know how you found it. I hope that other people have enjoyed it more than I have, but yeah, unfortunately it just was not for me. Okay, next we have Taming Seven by Chloe Walsh. This is the 5th book in the Boys of Torment series, and this book follows Claire and Gibbsy. Now originally when this was released, it was said that this was going to be Claire and Gibbsy's only book. However, lots has been going on in the Chloe Walsh book talk world recently, if you are not on there, and now it seems like maybe we are getting another Claire and Gibbsy book. That's not for certain, I'm not sure. I'm not going to explain this series, I've explained it so many times, and I'm just wasting your time going over it again. It's a romance series, it's set in Corkin Island. I would say that I just found this book really frustrating because we just were not getting anywhere. And listen, a lot of Chloe's books are pretty slow moving, but this one just felt frustrating. Like, I was frustrated at both of the characters because they just weren't doing anything. It was just the same issue throughout the whole book, and it was just a bit boring, if I'm honest. I also will say that I found that the romance in this one felt really juvenile, it felt really young, so I just didn't connect with it as much. So it definitely is my least favourite book in the Boys of Torment series. I gave it 3.5 stars. I didn't dislike it. Like, me giving this 3.5 stars means I did like the book, but I definitely didn't love it, and it definitely did not live up to the other Boys of Torment books for me. But yeah, I am excited to see what book she comes out with next. We all thought it was going to be Hugh and Lizzie's book, I think, which I'm here for. Like, I really want to read their book. I think that's going to be really interesting. But now obviously there's a possibility that the next book will be another Claire and Gibbsy book. I don't know, we will see. Whatever happens, I'm excited to read the next book in this series, whatever it is. And finally, the last book is Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. This is the 2nd book in the Rosehill series. In this one we are following Weston. He is a single dad, he is a horse trainer and has his own like horse farm, and then our female main character is Skylar, and Skylar is a famous singer, but she comes to Rosehill to work with Ford, who is our main character from the 1st book and Weston's best friend, to record a new album and also just to escape her life because some things kind of went to shit and she wants to get away from it. And she actually ends up living at Weston's farm, like in the barn I think it is, and they become friends and she meets his children, and obviously it is a romance. I gave it 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars, and I definitely did not expect to give it 5 stars because these kind of books are very hit and miss for me. Like, a lot of the time I just feel a bit like meh about them, like they're fine, but I don't love them. However, this one I just loved the whole way through. I thought that the pacing of the romance was just so good. I loved the writing and all of the interactions between our characters. I loved the children and the plot points with the children and the conversations with the children. I felt like they added a lot to the book, but at the same time they didn't take over the book. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed both of our characters, and it just, I don't know, I just think it was a really good book. Yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. So well done, Elsie. This was great. So there we have it. Those are the 10 books that I read in September. Let me know what your favourite book was that you read in September. I would love to hear. If you haven't already, please don't forget to leave a comment, like and subscribe. I would love to see you in my next video. Bye!